what was apparent in my, of course, ass backwards way of watching trials was that the defense was either, well, god awful or didn't do much in this trial. It seems astounding that the defense did not, well, object to the speediness of the trial and other things. But it also seems clear that this case was much more calculated on the part of Carly than I think the defense wants us to believe. So we are starting off with, day one opening statements. We are going to start at 1.25 speed. That way, uh, you know, Southern courts tend to have a little mosey in them, and I can't deal with that. But I have unreliable, information that Baker has said that the judge in this case is hilarious. So it will be interesting to see what we think about this case. There are so many trials and so little time. But let's get into this. I do have the sound boosted, and since we're retro watching, we have closed captions. So let's get into this. Oh, and I'm getting a phone call.
Properly sworn as the jury to hear this case. The court will now give you what I call a preliminary instruction, and I ask that you pay close attention. As the trial proceeds, I may ask you if you have followed these admonitions. You are not to discuss among yourselves any subject connected with the trial until the case has been submitted to you for deliberation. You are not to converse with anyone else on any subject connected with the trial until you are discharged as jurors in this case. You are not to permit yourselves to be exposed to outside comments or news accounts of the proceedings until you are discharged as jurors in this case. You are not to conduct any independent research about this case, the legal issues, and or the parties involved. You are not to view the place where the offense was allegedly committed. You are not to form or express any opinion on this case until it has been submitted to you for deliberation. You are not permitted to mix and mingle with the attorneys, parties, witnesses, and spectators, and you are to avoid all contacts with those persons. You are required to report to the court any communication or attempt to communicate with you on the case or any subject connected with the trial. You may not take notes during the course of the trial. There are several reasons for this. As difficult.
Wait, they can't take notes? Oh, holy hell no. Oh, Judge, I wanted to like you, but you can't. Oh, oh no, I couldn't function in this courtroom. I could not function. I would have, I would have, no, no notes. Also, can I ask who in the hell did Greta Thunberg's barber practice on her hair? I mean, I get that we're going for the I'm guessing on the spectrum mental health look, but what in the name of God is her haircut? And the outfit, the 1980s called, and Murphy Brown would like her blazer back.
Take notes and at the same time pay attention to what a witness is saying. Further, in a group the size of yours, certain persons would take better notes than others will, and there's a risk that jurors who do not take good notes will depend on jurors who do. The jury system depends upon all jurors paying close attention and arriving at a decision. The court believes that the jury system works better when jurors do not take notes. You will notice that we do have an official court reporter making a record of the trial. However, we will not have typewritten transcripts of this record available for your use in reaching a decision in this case.
No, Judge, I would like to give you a counterpoint to your argument that people rely on good note takers. I am an obsessive note taker, and I basically do kind of have a semi-eidetic memory when it comes to audio things that I am interested in. But why no notes? This is terrible. Yes, people can rely on my notes. Yes, they are full of ad hominem attacks about people's eyebrows, but really it's a long trial and people need entertainment.
During the trial, the court may be called upon to make rulings on objections or motions made by the attorneys. You should not infer from any ruling the court makes that the court has an opinion on the merits of the case favoring one side or the other. If the court sustains an objection to a question and not allows it to be answered, you should disregard any response by the witness prior to the court's ruling, and you should not speculate on what the complete answer might have been.
And I free the First Amendment. Not sure what the view is on this case. Basically, I come in. I have done a basic overview. I covered the headlines in this case, but every case I go into, I'm waiting for the state to prove their burden, and I'm looking for the defense to, again, bring up reasonable doubt. But I call balls and strikes, so I don't have a bias, although I will say if the state is able to prove that she not only planned, but, kind of positioned herself with knowledge of the security camera and things like that to lure her mother close to her so she could, deliver the coup de grace. I do feel like that is a level of intentionality that I don't think could be explained away in a psychotic state. But I'm willing to hear an expert if they have an opinion. I'm willing to listen to experts. I have an open mind, but not an empty mind, is kind of how I cover trials.
Or draw any inference from the question itself. It may be necessary for me to confer with the attorneys outside of your presence. It is impossible to predict when those circumstances might arise, but I will resolve the issues before me as quickly as possible. After this instruction, the attorneys will have an opportunity to make opening statements in which they will be able to explain the facts and issues as they see them. After all of the evidence has been presented, they will have the opportunity to address you again and make their closing or final arguments. These statements and arguments are not evidence or instructions on the law. Nevertheless, they are intended to help you understand the evidence.
And I'm so sorry for your loss, Denise. Fur babies just they get into our hearts, so quick, and then they seem like they've been in our lives forever, and we're never ready to say goodbye to them, so I completely understand.
And the applicable law, and you should give them close attention. Opening by the state. Yes, ma'am.
This is a case about Carly Madison Gregg. Carly Gregg has been charged with murdering her mother, Ashley Smiley, and attempting to murder her stepfather, Heath Smiley. She's also been charged with tampering with physical evidence for removing a camera and hiding it that captured a portion of the events. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll hear testimony throughout the next few days during this case. You'll hear about some secret life that Carly lived.
Okay, I know we're missing Megan, so we'll do a little bit of hair talk. Of all the lawyers, female lawyers that have attempted the casual hair down look, I think this looks very attractive, and it doesn't look like she forgot to brush the back of her hair, which is always a complaint we have of female attorneys. So I think her hair looks beautiful. So there you go, Megan, your hair talk quota has been achieved.
You'll hear that Carly had a secret boyfriend. You'll hear that Carly had a secret iPod, that she had secret social media accounts that she was using to communicate with people on this iPod when her parents had taken her phone away. You'll hear that she was secretly cutting on her thigh using a knife. You'll hear that she secretly had burner phones her mom and stepdad didn't know about that she was using. You'll hear that she had secret weed vape pens and that she
Secret weed. I mean, no, I'm not saying nothing, but if a dispensary had, like, secret vape pens, that wouldn't be a terrible branding. I mean, she does sound like she's definitely pushing boundaries, uh, and this would be something that a parent would be clued in on, and from what I'm understanding of people who have already watched the trial, the mother was cued in on this. If anything, the mother was very attentive and did try to get Carly, mental health therapy and, into doctors when she did start exhibiting some of these, clear signs that she was dealing with something or, you know, rebelling in some way.
before going to school at times. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not why we're here, though. We're here because of what she did on March the 19th, 2024. So that you'll hear that Carly is the daughter of Ashley Smiley, the stepdaughter of Heath Smiley, that Heath and Ashley were married sometime in 2020. You'll hear that Carly's not been in her life for about a year or more, that he was a known drug user, had violent and angry tendencies. You'll hear that back in January, Carly got in trouble with her parents when they found this iPod, that they got onto her for using these secret accounts and for communicating with people. You'll hear that around the same time that she had this boyfriend they found out about, and that they asked her to break up with him, and that later they found out she was still seeing this boy. You'll hear at some point that Carly got in trouble at school. She was cheating. She'd found the answers to a test and gave them to the other students. You'll hear that all of this was happening about the same time that they found out Carly was cutting on her legs. You'll hear that as a concerned parent, what they did was they got Carly in therapy. She was being treated for anxiety and stress. You'll hear that she continued smoking those vape pens even after in therapy. So now I want to take you to the real reason we're here and what you'll hear. We're here because on March.
It is interesting that she was accessing drugs, and I wonder how the vape pens were interacting with any, psychiatric drugs she was on. I do know that, again, I don't subscribe to reefer madness, but as a, normal human parent, I don't think that it's good that a 14-year-old is using, weed, but generally, if children are self-medicating at that young of an age, there is an underlying anxiety, and if her father was a known substance abuser and volatile and had only been out of her life, for a year, that's a lot of trauma still. Dealing with a parent with, uh, substance abuse problems is so incredibly complex. I'm not excusing what she did or her behaviors. Again, the firm motto of Mo is that whatever is going on in your life, we do not act like jerk faces to other people. And going out and doing all of this, rebelling behavior, it is not kindness. It's not, we all deal with stuff. So it it is worrisome that she was taken on and off medications. These aren't, side effectless medication. These aren't, Tylenol. These are things that have to build up in your system that you have to wean off carefully. So again, haven't heard a whole lot of the story, but I do question some of the things and wonder if there would have been a different outcome, at least in the punishment phase, had she had better defense attorneys.
The 19th, 2024, Carly rode to school with her mother that day. Ashley was a school teacher at Northwest Rankin, taught geometry. Carly was in the 10th grade. You'll hear that morning she got in a little altercation with one of her friends, cussed him out. But what you'll hear, ladies and gentlemen, from the testimony of this friend is that he was so worried about Carly's use of smoking marijuana, and so worried about her being high, and so worried about her having these burner phones that her mom didn't know about, that he felt compelled to tell Miss Ashley Smiley that day. Ladies and gentlemen, after the incident with Carly that morning, you'll hear that he gets in touch with another friend, and he's like, "Hey, you got to keep her distracted so I can go tell Miss Smiley what's going on." Ladies and gentlemen, this friend cared about Carly. He was like, I gotta intervene. I gotta tell her. I'm afraid of what's happening." You'll hear from him that he did in fact tell Miss Smiley. That after 4 o'clock that day, he goes and he tells Miss Smiley, hey, Carly has got these vapes. She's got this phone. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll hear then that Carly Gregg rides in the car home with her mother from school to their house. They leave school sometime after 3:30. They get home a little before 4. You'll hear that when they get inside the house, it's only their 2 dogs, Ashley Smiley and Carly Gregg. Immediately, Carly goes and lets the dogs out. You'll hear testimony that Ashley then goes into Carly's room. You'll hear that while Ashley is in her room, that Carly's still outside. At some point, Ashley finds what law enforcement believe to be the 4 boxes that contain vape pens. Testimony will be that we believe she carried them from Carly's room to her bedroom, went back to searching Carly's room. The evidence will show that almost immediately upon Carly coming inside the house, that she walked straight to her parents.
I'm trying to be very objective, so I have often given my read on defendants, from Koberger, who I said, legitimately, if I had just seen him in a grocery store, he would have sparked that little thing in my lizard brain that's like, this is a predator. I get the ick vibe from him. And not to say that I prejudged him guilty, but definitely that is something that there was something remarkably off-putting to me about Bryan Kohberger. She has an incredibly flat affect, but it definitely seems more grayed out than soulless. If there's any explanation I could kind of give you that this looks more like a blanked out, overwhelmed stare rather than a soulless stare like Bryan Kohberger is if that's if that makes any sense, because she's very, very flat, but it's a different kind of stare, to me at least. That being said, I am not sure that I would have dressed her in such a constructed shirt. It's very adult feeling. It ages her, so I don't know if they were trying to make her look more professional, but if they were trying to emphasize her age, this was not the right, combination. This definitely gives me, like, grandma schoolmarm vibes, and I didn't know if they wanted to maybe emphasize her youth or maybe negate it. I'm not sure.
Goes straight to her mom's side of the bed and removes a .357 Magnum from under the mattress. We believe the testimony will be that then she concealed that .357 Magnum behind her back. As she walks through the kitchen, she peeks her head around. We believe the testimony will show that she peeks her head around the kitchen to make sure that her mom hasn't come out of her bedroom. We believe the evidence will then show that she walked with that .357 Magnum behind her back, walked into her own bedroom, and then fired 3 shots into her mother, killing her. We believe the testimony will then be that very moment after she shot and killed her mother, she then hides that gun back out of the camera, walks back into that kitchen, sits down on a stool with a gun behind her, picks up her mother's cell phone, puts her mom's passcode into the phone. We believe the testimony will be that then she texts her stepdad and said something to the effect of, "When will you be home, honey?" Testimony will be that then she waited for him to respond. "I'll be a little bit longer." She sends him a thumbs up.
This very much seems calculated, and I understand the state's this is a horrific crime, however you slice it. It's, a daughter taking the life of their mother. Uh, you know, this is it's already torn a family apart. But I have to say the state is really pushing she's making it sound like Cruella de Vil or something like that, and until I see really good evidence that she was, the evil Nancy Drew and she completely Home Alone figured this all out, I think there is a level of calculation, but I don't know if it's as sophisticated as she's making it sound. Um, what is more kind of worrisome to me is that she was able to function so well just after because any way you slice it, 3 shots to the face at a close range is going to be incredibly horrific and graphic, even if you immediately cover up your mother's face with a towel, that's gonna be incredibly graphic, and you can go into shock, but I would think that if you're in shock, you would have you wouldn't have the ability to sit down calmly, to maintain thought processes about the camera and things like that. So, my guess is, like many things, it's more in the middle and many shades of gray. But I do understand that the state, believes that they can prove all of these things were much more calculated, so I'll be interested to see what they bring to the table.
Ladies and gentlemen, we believe the testimony will then be that after she puts the phone back down and walks out of sight with the camera, that between the next 45 minutes or so, that the defendant reaches out to or attempts to reach out to about 5 or 6 of her friends. Some were FaceTime, some were text messages. We believe
Now that's where okay, this does seem like normal life because I have 6 children. So I'm trying to think of what my aged 14-year-old, child would do if they were presented with a not this, you know, situation, but a similar stressful situation. Um, and I could see them absolutely calling and reaching out to friends, even though, it's counterintuitive. Even if she had exhibited all of these, forward planning, this sounds more real and realistic, for a teenager to have gone through all of these plannings and, I'm gonna make it look like a robber came in, and then she texts all of her friends. That does seem like something real, but then that's also a lot of thinking. It's a natural thinking pattern for a teenager. It's dumb as hell for a criminal, but it's also a normal thought pattern for a teenager, not one that I would think would be in shock. So, again, there's a lot of mixed signals, and I don't make my mind up at opening statement.
The evidence will show that during this time, she was asking them all for help, trying to get them to come over to her house. She wouldn't tell them why. We believe that one of them's going to say he even offered to call 911, and she told him no. The evidence will also be that one of these friends did in fact come over to help Carly that day. She didn't know why, but she knew that her friend needed help, and she went to that home. We believe the evidence will show that when that friend arrived at Carly's house, that Carly walked to the front door, asked her, "Are you squeamish around dead bodies?" We believe the evidence will show that then she took that friend and showed her her dead mother laying on the floor. We believe the evidence will show that after that, she says, "I put 3 in my mom, and I got 3 more waiting for my stepdad when he gets home." We believe the evidence will show that then she tells this friend, "Hey, why don't you go wait outside in the backyard? My stepdad's about to be home." This friend will testify that she does go in the backyard and she hears gunshots. And the next thing she sees is Carly coming out of the back door. We believe the testimony will be that she fell down coming out of the back door, gets up and tells her to run. And these 2 individuals, this friend and Carly, jump over the fence and run separate directions.
My goodness. Again, my heart goes out to that other little girl who went out there, probably thought her friend probably got another vape pen. I mean, let's be real, or mom and dad are out of the house, the booze is unlocked. And welcome, traveling fools. And thanks you for listening, Anima Rumpier. Uh, Yeah, I'll be very interested to see how she was presenting in her normal life prior to this and what professionals have to say about any possibility of transient psychosis, if that's such a thing, or temporary insanity of a sort. Because the defense today in the hearing from yesterday that we watched today, the defense kind of made it seem as though even the state's expert was very close to the McNaughton sort of line. Now, I don't know that I trust him, but I also didn't come off of that hearing feeling warm and fuzzy about the state either.
You'll hear testimony that there was a 911 call. You'll hear a frantic Heath Smiley telling the dispatcher, "Oh my God, she's killed her mother. She hit me in the neck, it grazed me. She tried to kill me too. She's run off."
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the stepfather somewhat testify on her behalf? Um, because I remember people being very judgmental of the stepfather. I don't remember what case we were covering that was contemporaneous to, Carly going on, but I know that kind of in the ether of paying attention to different trials, there was a lot of judgment passed on the stepfather. Uh,
Hear from law enforcement when they arrived on the scene that Carly Gregg had fled the scene. You'll hear from law enforcement that when they arrived on the scene, Ashley Smiley was very much dead in the floor in Carly's bedroom, and that they found that Heath Smiley had been shot and hit in the shoulder, through and through. You will hear from law enforcement that sometime after the day.
Sorry, I'm gonna go back and slow that down. just because that to me looks like actual emotion. Again, still very, very kind of muted, very grayed out. Uh, I can only explain that when I'm feeling very depressed or overwhelmed, I can feel extremely grayed out, if that makes any sense, where I'm very apathetic. I don't have highs or lows. I'm just gray. Okay, and Mo, her dad and grandmother and mother's mom are both behind her and the families are behind her. Okay. Like I said, I know that they're so again, drawing from a somewhat similar case, I know that in the Slender Man case, there were definite signs that Morgan Geist, I believe, uh, had very severe mental health problems as a child. Uh, so I wondered if there were also presentations that maybe were overlooked that, after this happened, definitely some things were, somewhat off. So it will be interesting to see what the experts say.
and hit in the shoulder, through and through. You
Yeah, to me, honestly, and again, she definitely looks like that upset her, that she felt something there. Again, it didn't look like anger, it didn't look like disgust, it looked like sadness when she talked about when the, state attorney was talking about the father getting shot or the stepfather. However, you know, it's a crapshoot, you know? As a defendant, I've often said, "You're darned if you do, darned if you don't." If you are stoic, uh then you have no feelings and you don't care. If you cry, you're only crying because you got caught. Uh, so, it's a gamble.
will hear from law enforcement that sometime after the day of the event, they learned that there was cameras involved, that this home had surveillance video. You'll learn that one of those videos was turned over by the living victim, Heath Smiley, and it shows Carly Gregg and her friend jumping over the fence. And then you'll learn that there was another camera in the house on March the 19th, 2024. That Carly was hiding the gun out of sight of. And you'll hear that that camera was not in the kitchen when law enforcement got there, and it was not in the kitchen where it should have been when Heath Smiley got there. It wasn't until sometime later that that camera was discovered. Ladies and gentlemen, you will hear that Ashley Smiley's cause of death, gunshot wounds to the head. Ashley Smiley's manner of death, homicide. You will hear that Heath Smiley says, Carly Gregg is the one that shot at me. And on his 911 call, he said that she tried to kill him. You'll hear him say that he did not move that camera, the only other person living in the home.
Well, they said she got it from underneath the mattress. Uh, so I don't know if she was aware if it was the mother or the stepfathers, because I could honestly see the state prosecuting, the family if, with all the same fact pattern, she had gone to do something at a school. If we arrange the fact pattern just a little bit to take her taking the force multiplier to school, would her parents be on trial because they had a force multiplier under their mattress? It's interesting to play that game now because of, we've seen the Colt, oh gosh, what is his name? Colton something or other. My brain is go I know it's in Georgia, and my brain is having a fart right now, but it does make me wonder, especially with the growing signs of rebellion and things like that. I do wonder why. And again, I mean no disrespect to the victim. I am 120% armchair psychologying. So I do wonder if with all they noticed, would it have been prudent to make that not available? Now, I know the other argument is that if there's something in a safe, then it's hard to get out. But if your child is having a lot of mental health issues, is that something that maybe we should talk about? Maybe we again, I don't think that we should have to curtail rights, but could we just ask for a little doggone common sense? If you're going to own a life-taking, implement, eh, could you treat it with respect? That's all I'm asking for 5 seconds. Um, that being said, I mean, absolutely 100%. No one could have foreseen this. That is the problem with charging parents. We are charging, their inability to have precognitive sense. Now, that being said, if your child is displaying a lot of mental health issues, then please use common sense. If you have force multipliers, lock them up. If if you cannot lock them up, please get access to them up or get them out of your house. Do not let your child know where you have the hidey hole spot.
Ladies and gentlemen, you also hear from forensic scientists from the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory. You'll hear that both of Carly Gregg's hands tested positive, both the right and the left. You'll hear that the .357 Magnum that was used to kill her mother and shoot her stepfather, they took swabs. They took a swab of the trigger and they took a swab of the hammer. And you will hear that the DNA profile that matches those swabs belongs to Carly Gregg. Ladies and gentlemen, you will also hear that there were 2 projectiles removed from Carly Gregg's mother, Ashley Smiley. One in her brain, one in her neck. Projectiles were tested with ballistics, and that those projectiles matched the .357 Magnum.
Oh my gosh, tool mark ballistics are more subjective, and there have been notable law tubers that have wonderful video dissertations about, well, the fallibility of ballistics. I send you to Nick Starro or Ian Runkle. They are much better than me at explaining why it is utter, well, chaos.
That Heath Smiley took out of Carly Gregg's hand that day on March the 19th, 2024. And ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this trial, after you've heard the evidence, the state will stand before you and we will ask that you murder, attempted murder, and tampering with physical evidence. Thank you, Your Honor.
Does the defense wish to make its opening now, or do you wish to defer?
The defense will go ahead, Your Honor.
Opening statement by the defense.
Good afternoon. I know it's been a long morning for you all, so I'll try to do this as briefly as possible. This is not.
Okay, does she look like Giada De Laurentiis if she quit the Food Network and decided to become a lawyer for some reason? Also, Giada, no one believes you eat gelato, okay? Ma'am, you are all of a size 0. I'm gonna need you to not have a cookbook with you just eating a crap ton of ice cream, because no one believes that, all right? It's not that I'm jealous or anything, I just know I'm being lied to.
Not a whodunit case. We know who took action on March 19th to bring about the death of Ashley Smiley and the injuries to Heath Smiley. However, this is a why case. Why did it happen? Why did this exceptional child with no history of violence, who was loved by her friends, her teachers, her parents, who had a good home life, who loved her mother, why did she shoot her mom? Why did she shoot at her stepfather? The state would like you to believe the answer to those questions don't matter, but we know better than that. The answers to those questions is why we're here today, and it's what you're here to do. We believe the evidence will show that there were 3 victims on March 19th: Ashley Smiley, Heath Smiley, and Carly Smiley, and Carly Gregg, that they were all 3 victims. We believe the evidence will show that Carly had been suffering from a mental illness, that Carly was not aware on March 19th that she had a mental illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's parents, who lived with her, were not aware that illness. We believe the evidence will show that Carly's close friends, who saw her at school every day, were not aware that Carly was suffering from a mental illness, because it's hard to look at a person and understand that they have a mental illness. It's hard to look at a person and know that they have a mental illness. That's why it's often referred to as the invisible disease. A person can exhibit symptoms of a mental illness without people necessarily knowing that they have one, or other people necessarily knowing the person has. While the events on March 19th were tragic, the events on March 19th were not intentional. The evidence will show, and the testimony will show, that Carly Gregg loved her mother, that Carly Gregg and her mother had a loving, close relationship. Carly Gregg's mom loved her. In fact, her life revolved around Carly, as parents' lives often do revolve. Carly very much wanted to please her mother. Carly was an exceptional student, made a 30 on the ACT when she was 13 years old. She was the apple of her mother and her stepfather's eye. And you will understand by the conclusion of this hearing why Carly's stepfather is standing behind her. Because he knows on March 19th, there were 3 victims: Ashley, Heath, and Carly.
Okay. Syntax, again, it's definitely a strategy, but putting Carly in as the victim, I think, is going to inherently rub people wrong. I don't think that if she is proven to have, mental health issues, I don't think that it's an untrue statement. I'm not getting on the defense for saying it if, they can prove that she had mental health issues. But I think that it is a loaded statement. And I think that this is going to be a very hard thing for the jury to deal with. I think you shouldn't present that as a statement of fact. I think you should be very soft with it, that the Carly that was there isn't the Carly that sits before you now. Again, you can make her mental health issues the monster or the villain of the case, but what I think people will find inherently off-putting is making Carly a victim alongside the 2 people that were shot. Regardless of the fact that the stepfather is standing behind her, I just think that you have an incredibly hard case to deal with. You can instantly turn off a jury by grabbing victimhood for your defendant, even if it is in reality truthful. I just think that it can, again, really, really turn people off quite quickly. And you're at the opening statements. You want them to have an open mind. And, you have a choice in language that could, possibly not turn off the majority of the jury.
The state will ask you to take your good judgment, to take your common sense, and to put it in a bucket, to put the lid on the bucket, and to toss the bucket out of this courtroom. We implore you not to do that, to retain your common sense, to retain your good judgment, and to make sure that you are listening to the evidence as it's presented, because it doesn't matter how many witnesses the state puts on, their story is filled with inconsistencies because they're not telling the whole story. The evidence will not show that Carly was ever deemed dangerous by anyone. The evidence will not show that Carly ever had any desire to hurt her mother. The evidence will not show that Carly ever had any desire to hurt any person. The evidence will not show that Carly...
And to give the defense, I think the defense is really going to have to explain, again, why either in an altered or a very, very highly emotional state, she picked up something that we all know inherently, even little kids, be it a toy or a real force multiplier, which is why you have to have safety. Bernice, Carly Gray is accused of taking the life of her mother and attempting to take the life of her stepfather. Now, she has been convicted and found guilty and given life, though the possibility of parole does seem to be somewhat nebulous, statutorily. Now, yesterday, the defense and the state had oral arguments, before the Supreme Court, and the defense definitely did argue that there was, uh, ineffective counsel, that there was a rush to trial, and a lot of different things. Now, to be honest with you, I wasn't impressed with the defense's show at oral arguments today, but I also had some bones to pick with the state and how they were trying to interpret some of the statutes. So we won't know if, there is any sort of movement on that for the next couple weeks as the Supreme Court works on that. And then I decided that, we would watch the trial because it did seem intriguing. Now, uh, the defense has seemed interesting, but has had some interesting word choices that I think, again, it's more just a stylistic choice. I wouldn't ever call my, you know, client, the defendant, a victim, especially if someone had lost their lives. It's just going to turn off, I think, a lot of people who are watching and the jury, and you're asking them uh, to, believe this. Now, I believe she was 13 when she took the life of her mother, and she is 14 when she's on trial now.
Invited people over to her house to view her mom's body. What it will show is that on March 19th, a hysterical Carly called her closest friends, begging them for help, begging them to help her. The evidence will show that Carly did not recognize Heath Smiley when he got home that day. You'll hear that from him himself. The evidence will show that Carly was so terrified when Heath Smiley got home on March 19th, that even after Carly left the house, Heath walked around the house with the handgun in his hand, looking for an intruder because he was convinced by Carly, by how she appeared, by how she acted, did that day, by the child he had known for years, that she was terrified, something in that house to cause that kind of terror in Carly. What the evidence will not show is that Carly had a drug problem. What the evidence will not show is that Carly and her mother had any argument on March 19th. What the evidence will not show is that Carly had any desire to hurt her stepfather. What the evidence will not show is that Ashley Smiley was angry.
Oh, okay, except she did point her hand and pull a trigger. I mean, those are conscious, and so saying she didn't wanna do or hurt anyone, uh, you know, I have to disagree. I know it's just, logic, but she did pick up a weapon, and not something that, "Oh, like, this is a mag light, but you can also use it to bludgeon." No, force multipliers are specifically intended as a weapon. It's not even like she picked up a kitchen knife, and she was making a sandwich, and then she got really, just Twitter-pated and stabbed her mother. Again, she went in to where she knew the force multiplier was. So there is some consciousness there that the defense is really going to need to explain, because this is where the defense starts to lose me. She didn't mean to hurt anyone. Well, she specifically picked up a force multiplier. Again, if she was in an altered state, I can understand that, but then you need to make it clear that this was Carly, uh, you know, suddenly taken off of SSRIs. She was not, while she was able to do complex things, she was not in her right mind. Again, don't say the evidence will not show. Say, we will bring in an expert that will explain to you that because Carly was taken off this medicine and this medicine, her mind was effectively out of control. Yes, she could do complex things, but she was basically a passenger in her own brain. you have to be able to understand this because right now you're basically asking me to not believe that someone who did this to someone and pointed a life-threatening object at them didn't mean to hurt them, and that doesn't make sense to me. That's where you start losing people, at least in my opinion.
when she left school that day, or that Ashley Smiley was upset with Carly when she left school that day, or that after they got home on March 19th, Ashley and Carly engaged in an argument. The evidence will not show that Ashley Smiley found anything in Carly's bedroom that would have caused an argument. The evidence.
Okay, as a mom, I'm gonna tell you that if I found 3 or 4 boxes of vape pens in my 13-year-old's room, we'd be having some words. There'd be a come to Jesus. I would not be a happy camper. Not because I'm again reefer madness, but no, it's not good for a developing brain. And if my child is resorting to, something to get them out of their mind, what are they escaping? I understand that it's an umbrella issue and there's something underneath it that's bothering my child. So yes, I would react angrily, but in a caring anger, there's a balance. And howdy jinx. But for the defense to get up there and try to sell that the mom is gonna be totally sunshine and giggles after she finds 4 disparate vape pens in her 13-year-old's room, come on, Imma need you to stay in reality land.
Will not show that Carly intended to hurt anyone. The evidence.
Again, ma'am, you're gonna have to explain to me. 1 shot, okay, it went off. She was playing with it. She didn't mean she was like, "Mom, put the iPad down," and it went off. Then there's the second bullet, and then there's the going after the stepfather. Again, you can sell me on an accident once, but unless you're in True Lies and you're Jamie Lee Curtis and you drop an Uzi down a set of stairs, I kinda don't believe that, yes, THC vapes. So, I'm sorry, but I do have a problem with she didn't intend to hurt anyone, but she kinda fired multiple shots.
Will not show that Carly has not grieved her mother's loss. The evidence will not show that law enforcement did their due diligence in investigating this matter. The evidence will not show that Carly was abusing or misusing prescription medication. The evidence.
Again, but she was using SSRIs and marijuana. We haven't gotten enough studies on the adolescent brain and the effects of these SSRIs, not to mention the, cocktail of these, again, kind of unknown mental health drugs as far as, the historic pattern of their interaction with youthful brains, and then the combination of reefer to that. I'm sorry, but she was experimenting with drugs because we don't know how it interacted uniquely with her physiology and her brain chemistry when she added THC. Again, I'm not, Helen Lovejoy. I say if you're an adult, do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't bother puppies and kittens or children. But this this defense attorney is gonna again, there was a way you could have written an opening that wasn't this.
Will not show that Carly was just a teenager who had a life that her parents didn't know everything about. That's called having a teenager and being a parent. The evidence will not show.
Ma'am, I don't. I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna wager to guess we have different teenagers, but again, if my teenager was having an entire secret life and I found her with a bunch of vape pens, or, drinking secretly on the weekends, she who shall not be named, there was a whole come to Jesus.
That Carly had ever tried to harm another person, had ever had a desire to hurt another person. The evidence will not show that Carly is a monster, that Carly was a difficult child, a troubled child, or a deranged child. The evidence.
Again, defense, you have to make this make sense. You are presenting us with someone who, by all appearances, was presenting as a highly functioning, advanced academic child who you claim was able to mask a severe and debilitating mental health condition. So you need to explain to us how she was able to deal with these these dual lives, because either her mental health, issues weren't as bad as you say they are, or she is able to function at a high level and deal with debilitating mental health issues. It doesn't quite make sense to me.
Will not show that Carly Gregg does not deserve you to return a verdict of not guilty. Now, the evidence will show that Carly had a family history of mental illness. In fact, it was well documented. The evidence will show that Carly was concerned that something was wrong with her. She wrote journal entries about it. The evidence will show.
She's a 13-year-old girl. Do you know, when I was 13, I held very firmly, okay, I still hold very firmly, but I had an unquenchable hope that I was simply an alien left behind, that my family, had left me behind as a child. My real people were not human. That's why I suck so much at being human. I was simply an alien that had been left behind on, some kind of tourist event. Every 13-year-old feels like an alien and doesn't fit in, and, all of this. Not every 13-year-old takes their mother's lives. You have to kind of start inviting the jury to your framework, your understanding of this case. The constant recitation of the evidence will show or not show, you need to build the story for them. Again, the state has gone in there and they've already put their framing up and their drywall. You need to go in and say, this is, these are our framing. This is our, this is our drywall. For the love of Cheetos, you can't just, say the same damn thing. You need to take the jury on a journey, a storytelling. What is the most compelling way to persuade someone? A good story will get you every time. And not that I'm saying, again, I think there should be some punishment involved in this and some. We actually made it a very long time this time. So the computer might be getting better. I think threatening my computer with Office Space like beatdown scared it into behavior. I think I just threatened my computer with with well, mortal peril. I know, I know. Just when I think I've cracked the code.
That Carly was afraid she had the same mental illness that her father had. Carly, the evidence will show that Carly.
My computer has been doing something weird with StreamYard, and we thought that we got the computer fixed, and it's actually been better today. We got more RAM installed and everything else, but we have hitherto yet to figure out the perfect combination to have a completely kicked free stream. But it is better. It is better.
Carly's mother had worried for years about Carly having the same mental illness that her father had.
What is that mental illness? Again, you cannot be nebulous. And the good thing, again, I think that there is a good thing that mental health is more of a conversation. And, because more people are open about their, diagnoses, everyone knows or has maybe a family member or a friend that, maybe has depression or ADHD or bipolar. Again, not making the same, they're not same things, so I'm not comparing them as such, but there is sort of a ubiquity. We know people that deal with mental health. We know people that have, controlled mental health and struggle with control of their mental health. So, I think that she shouldn't be so general. I think that she should respect the jury to have enough intelligence to, maybe have a cursory knowledge of a certain mental health issue, because right now, since you're not naming it, they're gonna guess whatever it is, and it might not be a favorable, diagnosis to you. So if you are going to use this, you need to be very specific. You need to tell me how, schizophrenia or manic depression became the monster. The monster that held that gun had Carly's face, but it was really her manic depression or her bipolar or, her medicine withdrawal, her brain chemistry. You need to clear it out. I don't want euphemisms. I don't want, the evidence is going to show something nebulous and, of the fairy fuck variety at some point. This is your opening statement. This is your time to get me hooked to your story of the case. So please, could you give me a story for the love of Cheetos?
Evidence will show that Carly was very emotionally tied into her mother's emotions and that Carly never wanted her mother to worry about her. The evidence will show that Carly was scared of how her mother would react to the knowledge that if Carly had the same mental illness that her father had. That doesn't sound like a child that doesn't love her mom. And that doesn't sound like a child who hasn't.
No, that sounds like a child who's highly achieving and deals with perfectionism. Again, you could kind of almost sell me as Carly was shooting herself because she couldn't be perfect enough for her mother, and that the mother she created in her mind was nothing like the real mother she had. She had built this mental construct of her mother. How in the hell am I doing a better damn job as the defense? I swear to God.
Any intention of hurting her mother. The state would like you to believe that it's normal for her to go home from school one day with their mother, who they love, and shoot her, but nothing's wrong. It was just marijuana. Or because she was on social media and her mom didn't want her on social media. But again, we ask you to retain your common sense and to retain your good judgment, because we know that just doesn't make sense. And at the end of this trial, if the state's case still leaves you feeling like their version of events just doesn't make sense, then you must return a verdict of not guilty.
State may call its first witness.
State calls Kevin Collins, Your Honor. Your Honor, move to let us approach him. Sorry about TBS.
Yeah, my foot went all the way down.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Adjust yourself up to the microphone.
Yes.
Do you understand that you're now under oath and your answers to be sworn in?
That is a bright yellow. That is a big guy. Okay, you think they would have worked out the I'm trying to get to heaven. So I noticed a great many things, but I only commented about the yellow.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, sir. Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name's Kevin Collins.
And Mr. Collins, where do you work?
I work Rankin County Sheriff's Department dispatch.
All right. And you say dispatch. Explain to us just a little bit about what dispatch is and what you do as part of your job responsibilities.
Basically, we take all the incoming calls from the county and the community, even some from the cities for emergency situations, and we dispatch proper personnel, whether it be medical, fire, law enforcement.
And how long have you worked for Rankin County Sheriff's Office in that role?
I started in Sheriff's Department February 7th, 2022.
Okay. And before February of 2022, did you have any experience working in that role in any other for any other departments or agencies?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen about that?
I started with Hinds County Sheriff's Department in June of 2007. I worked 2 years at the city of Flowood, and then I worked Yazoo County E911, a couple years at Mendenhall Police Department, and then the last 6 years before I came to Rankin County, I was a supervisor at the city of Florence.
And you talked about some of your job duties and responsibilities as part of your responsibility.
You know, I wasn't sure that he had survived, but thank you for taking this moment, because I was really worried that he didn't make it out of this, but I'm so glad to know that he did in fact make it onto the cruise ship. Jurassic Park had been lying to us. I thought he died in a dinosaur attack. But he made it, and he got to trial. See, you sons, Spielberg, you bastard, I thought he died. But he didn't.
And duties. Do you dispatch fire services?
Yes, we do fire services.
Do you dispatch police?
Yes,
You EMTs?
that is done through Pafford.
Okay. Who contacts Pafford in the event that EMTs are needed?
We transfer the caller. In the perfect situation, we transfer the caller to Pafford so they can ask the proper questions.
Okay. And I understand that over the years, maybe some of the training requirements have changed, but whenever you became a dispatcher, what were the training requirements in order to become a dispatcher?
Within the first year, you had to go through a 40-hour basic certification class plus a 8-hour ride-along with each department that you dispatch, whether it be fire, law enforcement, medical. In every continuous year, you have to do 48 hours in 6 different subjects for every 3 years to recertify.
So did you do those initial requirements back whenever you started?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you ride along with those different agencies that you dispatched?
Yes, I did.
All right. And have you kept up your continuing?
Wait, he has to do a ride along every 3 years? And again, I am not trying to be a jackass, but how does that work in a standard police car? And I'm not trying to be a jackass, but I'd like to see body cam footage of that. Sounds about right.
Education hours throughout the years.
Yes, sir, I have.
And who are you certified through? Who keeps up with that?
Board of
Chris
Standards and
Creed.
Training through the state of Mississippi.
Okay. And you said you worked at Rankin County since February of 2022. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you guys work in shifts, or how does your schedule work?
We do. My shift is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we do a 3-2 split, which is like 1 week we'll work Monday, Tuesday, and then the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then the next week we will work Wednesday and Thursday. And it just alternates the following weeks.
Okay. How many dispatchers work at a time for Rankin County?
There's 4 of us at a time on duty.
And how do you guys handle calls that come in to?
No. Okay, look, for the sake of America and both of y'all's cholesterol, I'm going to need the rest of this questioning to happen while y'all are mall walking. Look, and I say this as a person who has been fluffy and skinny and pregnant forever and fluffy and skinny. So ain't nothing that's going to be wrong with y'all being on the walking pad having this conversation, okay? look, I say this as a person who thinks that, a healthy body doesn't have to be a size small, but I'm saying that we just need to work. Small steps.
Say 911.
If it's an emergency situation, then, we've got this thing where we'll snap our fingers and somebody else will pick up on the call. That way one of us can get all the information we can while the other one's dispatching it out.
So is it possible that more than one person can be listening to the call at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to take you back to March 19th of this year, March 19th, 2024. Were you employed as a dispatcher with Rankin County at that time?
Yes, I was.
And that was as a dispatcher?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you working that day?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall receiving a call from an individual by the name of Mr. Heath Smiley that day?
Yes, I do.
And what was the reason for Mr. Smiley calling 911?
He called because he had been shot. At first, he said he had grazed the neck once during the middle of the call. He then stated that his wife was also shot dead on the floor, and I continued to talk to him until deputies arrived on scene.
And do you recall the address that Mr. Smiley was calling from?
Yes, it was 214 Ashton's Way.
Okay. Is that address located in Rankin County?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Mr. Collins, how would you describe Mr. Smiley's demeanor whenever you first picked up the phone off that day?
He was very distraught. At first, I thought I was speaking with a female. It wasn't until I found out his name that I knew it was a male. And then I just continued to get further information from him, what I could. He couldn't even, when I asked him the address the first time, he couldn't even tell me the address. I went off of the 911, which gave us, I believe, 215 Ashton Way. And then later on during the call, I verified with him what his address was. Okay. And you mentioned that Mr. Smiley stated that he was grazed and that his wife was dead. Did he tell you anything else? He also advised that his stepdaughter had shot him and that he had taken the gun from her, and she ran out the back door wearing, I believe, a gray shirt and jeans and went over the back fence. I got a description from him that we could pass along to our officers, and that's most of it, except he did also advise that she had been going through some things and was on medication trying to deal with some stuff. Okay. When someone calls 911, are those calls recorded? Yes, they are. And do you know whether or not those calls are kept in the normal course of business by the Rankin County Sheriff's Office? Yes, they are. Okay. Do you know whether your call with Mr. Smiley on March 19, 2024 was recorded? Yes, it was. And do you know whether or not that call was kept in the normal course and scope of business by the Rankin County Sheriff's?
He must have been so incredibly full of not only endorphins, but anxiety. So he might have had a very high pitched voice, or he might have a higher range normally and just kind of went full falsetto.
Office. Yes, sir. Okay. Have you listened to that call before? Yes, I have. May I approach, Your Honor?
I'm sorry you haven't been sleeping well.
Mr. Collins, I handed you an item. Do you recognize that? Yes, sir. It's a disc of the recording. And how do you know that's what that is? Because I initialed and dated it. Okay. Have you watched or listened to that call before? Yes, I have. And you said there are some initials on there. Are those your initials? Yes, sir, they are. Whenever you listened to that call, did it appear to be altered or edited in any way? No, it did not. Okay. Your Honor, at this point, we would move this disc in as State's Exhibit 1.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Be admitted as one, all purposes.
Now, do be aware, I do like to give you guys little warnings. And even though this isn't going to be the same kind of trial as, the Athena Strand or the Paul Canero trial, do remember, if you are new here, we do have puppy kitten breaks that are about 30 seconds and Moxie breaks that are about a minute and a half. If we get to some really emotional or really difficult testimony, we do have Moxie or puppy kitten breaks. But do remember that, these are tough trials. So if you need to take a break or, watch later, I go back on these streams and I do make individual videos of each of the witnesses. So if you want to skip someone or go back and watch testimony, usually by the next day, I'll have, or at least with my new ADHD block channel scheduling, I should be able to, within the next couple days, get the individual videos up as well.
May I retrieve the deals, gentlemen? Yes, sir.
And Mr. Collins, you mentioned that you listened to this. Is this a complete call recording of the call with Mr. Smiley that day?
Yes, it is from beginning to end.
Okay. May I publish this for the jury, please?
Yes, sir.
Most location emergency.
Quite honestly and candidly, I would have thought that was a woman too. Thanks, Squid. I'll probably be covering this in the afternoons. So my new schedule is going to be mornings with Mo every morning, like normal. But then I'm going to be doing some editing and things like that. So I'm going to be doing trials more in the afternoon, at least for the summer. And unfortunately, then things will probably change when we get back to school. But I'm trying to be more productive and less look, I'm trying to deal with my new brain. And this is going to sound strange because, but until just about 5 years ago, my brain was capable of multitasking maybe on uh a level that I wasn't aware of. So now that uh I don't have that extra processing power, I'm definitely more ADHD prone than I've ever been in my entire life. So I tend to work counterproductively. So I am trying to get better at working with the brain I have now. And oh dear Lord, a kid brought a skunk to the common hall of the apartments and it sprayed. Well, I mean, Tanya, just pretend you're at a Willie Nelson contest. I mean, in rural Indiana, we play skunk or chronic. I mean, we don't. But, you can never quite tell if someone did, catch a skunk or someone's really enjoying themselves.
What's all this to me? Your daughter tried to shoot you? Yeah. Where's she at?
No, I tend to be pretty cynical, and I don't think that this is contrived crying. I think, like any young child, hearing your parent, kind of the stable person in your life, even if you created the situation, which is making them sound fearful, I think 13, 14 is still a time where even if you're incredibly advanced, you still expect your parents to be all together. You haven't quite gotten to that point where you realize your parents are just humans. Okay, you can drink now. At this point, I don't care if it's 5 o'clock in your neck of the woods, but you're allowed an adult beverage if you so indulge and can do so safely.
How old is she? 14. 14? Okay, ma'am, stay on the phone. Ma'am, stay on the phone with me. Just calm down. What's your name? Okay, calm down for me. Give me your name again. Heath Smiley. Heath Smiley? Yes, sir. All right, Miss Sir, what's your phone number you calling me from? Did she hit you? Yeah, I got hit in the neck a little bit. Okay, so did graze your neck? Yes, sir. All right. And what's her name? Carly Gregg. Carly Gregg? You still have a gun on her? She ran. You took it from her and she ran? Yes, sir.
I am incredibly glad that he was able to get a call. This case is already tragic, but imagine if there was an officer and, she was still armed. So I am glad that he was able to communicate, and thank goodness he survived, and was able to tell the police so they didn't go in loaded for bear. Uh,
She was screaming something at me I couldn't understand. I locked the door. She's out. Going on. Which way did she run off to? She ran into the backyard. She went over a fence. Ran into the backyard and went over your fence. Yeah. What is she wearing? T-shirt, gray shirt and some jeans. Gray shirt and jeans? About how tall is she? 5'2". About 5'2"? What color hair? Brownish. Brownish and short hair. 5'2" with... Back door, she opened fire on me. And was just screaming.
I believe he does testify, but I believe he is going to be on the defense's side, or at least he is supporting Carly. Now, I know that a lot of people had a lot to say while this trial was going on, about the kind of what they interpreted as a very odd sort of relationship. So I do believe he is in support of her. I don't know if he testifies. Um, the only thing is I know people had a lot to say about him supporting her. So I'm trying to keep an open mind because I don't want to let that color me, but I will be observing it to see what I notice.
She what? She killed her mom. She killed her mom? Yeah, that's what I'm screaming about. Where's the mom? When I do this, she doesn't kill me. Where's the mom? Sir. Sir. Okay, your address is 215, correct? 214. 214. His address is 214. Okay, sir. Where's your wife? She's dead on the floor of my stepdaughter's room. She's on the floor in your stepdaughter's room?
Okay, now honestly, it hasn't been doing this much, but maybe I need to clear. No, I said share, not cancel, you ding dong. Oh, yeah, I can't imagine the mental anguish of coming home, getting shot at, and then finding your partner dead. and being shot, you know, yes, we will definitely be taking a puppy kitten break.
Last name? Ashley Smiley. Ashley Smiley? Was there any problem with you, sir? Sir, I need you to speak with me, okay? Can you go out? Can you go outside the house and speak to me?
We can do that. Now, if I happen to pop off, today it has been finicky about taking media breaks, but we will try it because I think we need one.
When the world feels like a dumpster dive and humans forget how to thrive, take a break, just you and me, with a puppy and kitten, wild and free. Paws and purrs, let's drift away to a land where tails wag and play. No more noise, just gentle muse in our furry four-legged cruise.
Now, if anyone's watched the trial, who is this the maternal grandmother, I guess the mother of the victim, or is this but the paternal grandmother? Or maybe no one involved at all?
Okay. Now, was there any problem going on with is it your stepdaughter or? It's my stepdaughter. And her mom. I don't know what's going on. The stepdaughter's in therapy for a little while, trying to work out some problems in the home. And that's okay, and you say your wife has been shot?
And, I know we don't often say it, and I often take time to really thank the first responders, but bless the dispatchers too, who have to listen and, sit and hear the worst moments of people's lives and try to calm them down. I really do appreciate it. I can't imagine what they, go home carrying, and the fact that they're the voice of calm and reason during some of the most horrible times in people's lives. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna let you speak with him, okay? Okay. Speak with him, okay?
No further questions, Your Honor. Does the defense wish to use the projector for cross-examination?
The defense has no cross-examination.
All right. You may step down, sir. Are you going to use that with your next witness? Yes, sir. Before we go to the next witness, any jurors need a restroom break? All right. State may call its next witness.
State calls Deputy Hunter Lewis, Your Honor.
Oh, you can so tell she's 14. And what I mean by that is the absolute confused and befuddled look that no one in the world, and I mean this kindly, gives a shit that she's upset. And I say this with, understanding for her mental health issues, but you shot the one person that would have dropped everything because you were upset. The one person that would have fought everyone in that courtroom to make sure that they paid attention to the fact that you were upset by this. So, welcome to reality, where, yes, you're crying and you're upset, but the world continues. But that really shows me her immaturity because, again, her brain just cannot fathom that the fact that she is hurt and upset, it doesn't register to anyone else because all her life she's hurt, she's upset. Her mom, her stepdad, possibly her father in his not, substance abuse times, the world has essentially revolved around her. Everyone has catered to her exceptionalism, her hobbies, her wants, and this is the first time no one gives a rat's rah-rah, and life is going to continue.
Have a seat. Just yourself up to the microphone. Do you understand that you're now under oath and your answers will be sworn answers of the penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Hunter Lewis,
All right, Hunter, and where do you work?
Rankin County Sheriff's Office.
All right, and what role do you work at the sheriff's office?
Patrol.
All right, and as a patrol deputy at Rankin County, what do you do on a daily basis?
I answer 911 calls and assist the public when they call for assistance.
Okay. How long have you been in law enforcement? Anywhere other than Rankin County, or have you been?
Places.
Okay, where else have you worked?
I worked at Hines County, Flowood.
Okay. And where did you start? Did you start at Hines County?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of training did you go through in order to become a certified police officer?
Went to Mississippi Law Enforcement Officer Training Academy.
Okay. And approximately how long was that training?
12 weeks.
All right. As a patrol deputy now at Rankin County, do you complete any kind of ongoing training or continuing education?
I do.
And tell us just a little bit about what kind of training you go through.
Okay, now I have a couple superpowers, and one of them is figuring out exactly what celebrity witnesses or people look like. Tell me I'm not 100% right here.
Find that silverware, and I knew what it was. You know, the kind of guy who likes hanging out with his brother, watching cartoons.
I'm so glad he found a life after My Name is Earl, but could we bring back My Name is Earl? Because that was a funny show. And my husband and I agreed on it. And there's like 2 shows that we agree on. And I can't watch Bobby Flay. Not anymore now that he's turned vegan, okay?
We have to do annual training yearly throughout the year.
Okay. And what kind of topics does that annual training cover?
Just different aspects of the job.
Okay. Is it related to patrol or is it investigations? Tell us just a little bit about it.
Patrol.
Okay.
I know. I saw a picture of him and I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, I have some really heavy things that I'd like you to move. You can help my husband. And I mean, you can carry me around like Cleopatra too. I mean, buff person around, but I'm just saying.
Now, I want to take you back to March of this year, specifically March 19th, 2024. Were you employed as a patrol deputy at Rankin County on March 19th, 2024?
Yes, sir, I was.
All right. Do you recall receiving a call for service?
He didn't turn vegan, but he started dating a chick that was vegan, and every 5 minutes he was trying to make vegan a thing. So if you and your husband cannot agree on any shows other than Beat Bobby Flay, and he goes from like New York steak to silky tofu, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? And all these vegan, things, and then everyone roasts him because his girlfriend is vegan. Yeah, stop. Not that I have anything against vegans. It's just like I have nothing against religion. I just, I feel like the world would be a much better place. We're on a tangent right now, but imagine a world where no one gave a crap what you ate for breakfast because you didn't post it. Or if you had a problem with someone, you went to them and you talked it out like human beings, and then you didn't show your DMs for content. Imagine a world where no one gave a rat's ass what your hot take one was about anything because we just were all living our lives, not paying attention. Pepperidge Farm remembers a time like that, and bring back Zimas too. Yes.
At 214 Ashton Way. Yes, sir, I do. Okay. Is that in a subdivision or where is that? It is. What subdivision is that? It's in Farmington Station, Norfolk. Okay. Is that in Rankin County? Yes, sir, it is. All right. Did you respond to 214 Ashton Way? Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, why is, oh, for the love of Cheetos, I wasn't showing it to you. I'm a professional. I do this for a living. Why is George Sr. from Young Sheldon playing a lawyer? I miss you, George Sr.
Whenever you arrived at 214 Ashton Way on March 19, 2024, were there any other law enforcement personnel there whenever you arrived? No, sir. So were you the first one there? Yes, sir, that's correct. Whenever you arrived on scene that day on March 19th at 214 Ashton Way, just tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you observed whenever you got there. When I arrived, the door was locked, but I could hear somebody screaming and highly upset on the inside of the house. Okay. Did you later find out who was inside the house? Yes, sir, I did. Who was that? He's Smiley. At any point, did Mr. Smiley come outside or tell us what happened next? Yes, I knocked on the door several times, announced who it was, and then he opened the door. Can you describe Mr. Smiley's demeanor that you personally observed? He was hysterical, highly upset, crying. Okay. Whenever he came out, tell us what happened next. He fell to the ground on the porch just outside.
Now, did the police station or the police deputies have body cams or dash cam footage of any kind?
At the front door once, and then I asked him where his wife was. He said that she was inside on the floor. What information, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Deputy Lewis, what information, if any, had you been provided by dispatch? Just advised that there had been 2 people shot inside the residence. Okay, so you stated that Mr. Smiley came outside, then you spoke to him briefly. Then what happened next? After I spoke to him, I went inside to check on the other party. Okay. And then once, did you do anything to Miss Smiley whenever you encountered her inside? I did. I initially checked for a pulse, and I couldn't feel the pulse, so I lifted the towel to see what kind of see what had happened, and that's when I noticed she had been shot in the face. Okay, you mentioned a towel. Tell us, we haven't heard that before, so tell us what are you talking about? You into the bedroom, she was laying flat on her back with her arms crossed with a towel over her face. How were her arms crossed, if you recall? Across the top of her chest. Okay.
That's very interesting. Now, again, that's a typical, pose that you would see at a funeral home or even in Hollywood depictions of, a funeral home or at a wake. And I would think that there would be a general discomfort with positioning the body unless the husband did that as a comfort thing. But that would be that. It's very contradictory because you have the shots to the face and then this kind of act of caring or dignity of crossing her arms. So I wonder if the stepfather is going to say that he did that for the wife.
And did you later confirm the identity of the female inside? I did. And who was that? Ashley Smiley. Okay. After checking Miss Smiley's pulse, what did you do then? Then went back outside. Radio dispatch, and asked them to have medical come on in, and went back outside to where Mr. Smiley. Whenever you got back outside, were there any other law enforcement officers there at that time? There. Okay, and who was that? Deputy Dustin Smith. Okay. And once you returned back outside and encountered Mr. Smiley again on the front porch, what happened after that? He told me who had shot him and gave me a description of what she was wearing. And who did he tell you shot him? His step. By her name? Carly Gregg. Okay. And what did he tell you she was wearing? She was wearing, I can't recall exactly what he has told me. And then after that, what did you do next with that information? Radioed to the units that was responding. Did Mr. Smiley ever say anything about a gun or anything like that? He did. Okay. Tell us about that. He advised that the gun that was used was laying on that counter, and there was one live round in the cylinder. Did he say what type of gun it was? 357. Okay. And then what'd you do after that, if anything? I let the other officers know about the weapon, and then had the crime scene taped off. Okay. And so how long did you stay out there that day? Until
Okay, now faces and stares that make my lizard brain actually activate. The female defense attorney, that is look, those are some dead ass eyes. Like, I'm getting total Karen Carpenter, like her soul has left her body, and it's making me incredibly uncomfortable. You know how I said Carly seems flat but gray? This woman is clear. This woman is looking right through me, and I know she's probably just wool gathering, but things that would make me uncomfortable, this woman unfocused staring at me.
Miss Molly. Okay. And after, at some point, did investigators get there? What happened with that? When they arrived on scene, they started taking photographs and processing the scene. Okay. Now, Deputy Lewis, as a patrol deputy with Rankin County, do you wear a body-worn camera? Yes, sir, I do. And tell us, when do you activate your camera? Anytime dealing with the public. Okay. On March 19th, 2024, whenever you responded to 214 Ashton Way, were you wearing body-worn camera that day? Yes, sir, I was. And did your body-worn camera, in fact, record what happened whenever you arrived there on the scene? Yes, sir, it did. Do you know whether that body-worn camera footage is kept by the Rankin County Sheriff's Office? Yes, sir, it is. Since March 19th, 2024, have you reviewed that footage? Yes, sir, I have. Okay. Hey, Pro John. Deputy Lewis, I handed you an object. Do you recognize that? Yes, sir, I do. And what is that? It's a copy of my body cam footage. How do you know that's what that is? Because I initialed it after I watched it. Okay, so you watched that and initialed it? Yes, sir, I did. All right. That the footage that you watched on there, is that a true and accurate depiction of what your body cam recorded on March 19th, 2024 at 214 Ashton Way? Yes, sir, it is. Had that video been edited or altered in any way? No, sir. All right. Your Honor, at this time we would move this in as State's Exhibit 2.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Be admitted without objection, S2.
Your Honor, I would ask for permission to post this to the jury.
All right.
Yeah, we're probably going to, uh, call it a day after this. Unfortunately, with the weather in and out and wanting to save up for Dollywood, uh, we'll be doing, little bits of this. We'll do like 2 or 3 hours, in the afternoon, but we're going to be going at our own pace, just because reality with CRPS means that I have to be a little gentler with my body. And as much as it's ridiculous to say, the comfy chair is not as comfy after 8 hours. So we'll probably get through this, do a moxie break, and then I will set things up for tomorrow. And you should be expecting morning or at least weekly wrap up. I will find funny things. We will do stuff. I believe Shizzy's on vacation. I will invite Ballstorm. And then we will probably do some Carly in the morning and then whatever happens in the evening. I don't know if he's going to do a night stream. Probably not, since he's on vacation. I'll be on Friday nights if Expert invites me, but that's the general idea tomorrow. Now, I should be getting several crafting videos up. I am going to be working this weekend on having several videos in the tank, and I will be taking my, ooh, do I have a skunk hair wig? I will be, you know what? I think I do. Let me check. I actually have to do a wig decluttering. I have some that are very cheap and falling apart, and I just need to get rid of them and, do that. But let's finish this. We will do a moxie break, and then I will find someone to send you all off to, so I can get some editing done on said craft videos, because they're really fun to, make, but then I have to compress them and do a voiceover. And if I have products that I've bought, I do try to add those and give you an idea of price points. So we will do that.
Yeah, go back inside. Chairs off us! Chairs off us! Hey, come on, stop. Hey, come on. Hey, what's your wife at, bud? What's your wife at? She's down on the floor in that room. She where?
It's just such a not comforting vibe. I don't know what it is. There's nothing on the surface that is wrong, other than it's such a detached comfort. I I don't know. There's just something very, very wrong. And maybe it's the mom in me that, I know she's done something horrible, but the fact that a child essentially is crying, maybe I would react more. Okay, I tend to start patting people on the head. I am awkward myself, but there's awkward, but you're caring. Like me, you can tell that I really wanna, like, give you a hug, but I don't know how you feel about hugs, and I wanna be, consensual, and then I don't want it to feel like a hostage negotiation, and I never know, like, when these hugs are supposed to end. So, there's that kind of awkward where you're just not a touchy-feely person, and then someone who just seems like a person to which emotion is confusing, but I'm gonna mime it.
Sheriff's office! Hello? I need maple here.
And this is where I think it's such and I know it's a small thing, but the way they have dressed her with this very, very mature matronly shirt, it's such a weird juxtaposition of looking very, very old, almost outdatedly old and matronly when she's a child. So it's just so it's like no one put in forethought, and I understand that they're defense attorneys, so they're not going to be thinking about fashion, but this is a big case. You have to think about everything. You knew this was going to be streamed, and you have such a weird juxtaposition in how you are presenting her, that you have this very adult outfit, this and a very obviously young child. DUI and personal injury, maybe?
Well, I need you to get. Hey, where's your son wearing? Hey, can you tell me what your son's wearing? Hey, I need you to talk to me. What is your son wearing?
Jason
a Grace t-shirt. She's got short brownish hair.
So jeans, a gray t-shirt, short brown hair.
She ran into the backyard. I tried to follow her. She jumped the fence and ran. She shot me in the neck.
But it's okay. Does she still have the gun?
It's on the kitchen counter. I think there's one live round left in it. He's under. I went in the back door. She tried to shoot me.
I need some gloves. Hey, he's saying that she ran towards Magnolia Place. He's Graves, but he's considered. What's in his shirt?
You got me right there.
Magnolia Place. Gang the side of it.
She went over the side back towards my vehicle. She might have looked around this way.
Might look back going back towards the farm right She does not have the phone. The phone is here at the house. He's been raised, but he's too. She's waiting in the floor with the towel.
Well, if I remember correctly, didn't she have to wear an force multiplier, a vest or something of some sort? Didn't they have a vest on her or something? Or maybe this was another trial. I thought that, and you could be very correct, Anima Rumpure, if she is in jail, there might be certain, potluck of clothes that you can pick. But I thought that, because I think what we're reading as shoulder pads, if I remember, is some kind of anti-violence vest of some sort. But again, I could be wrong.
Look at his gloves. Will you take that tape right there and just go to the street, from my car to those streets? Actually, go for the mailbox. It's a 357.
Rabbit, who told you you could grow a goatee? Yes, one of my favorite movies. One movie that I can watch, and Mr. Mo will probably get suckered into watching tonight, is Super Troopers. I love that movie. No, it doesn't have a plot. No, I've watched it. Yes, I've watched it a gajillion and 10 times, and it's just the best movie.
Does she have any kind of, what's her name? What?
Carly Gregg.
Carly Gregg? How old is she?
14. She'll be 15 next month. It's work. She's coming toward the door.
She jumped the fence, he said. She didn't go out the back door. Does he get one? No, we got one. She's not. The back door is locked. She did not go out the back door.
Yeah, Sniper, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering how I'm going to feel after the video because I think in every trial there is that before and after, and especially for the defendant. Um, and we can go with the Paul Canero trial and when we saw him silhouetted in the garage, uh, and then after the medical examiners both broke down, there was a point before that where the defense was annoying, but after that point, it becomes downright offensive to your sensibilities. And I wonder if, my sympathy for Carly will be the same after I see the video, because that very much seems to be like that pivotal moment in this particular case.
Careful, that's what he's claiming. Gray shirt, blue jeans, short brown hair.
But I think more famously, there's the Athena Strand case or trial that we just came off of, where the defense could have made several different things that may have explained why he was so bad at the crime he did, but didn't excuse anything. And after the jury had seen the video and audio evidence, the way the defense presented the case was abhorrent. So I wonder if I'm really going to have a hard time with the defense after I see the video.
Y'all do be advised, there's several firearms in the house. The one that he's saying was used is laying on the table, but that doesn't mention it on.
I guess I will say the one thing that always shocks me about body cam footage and everything is how calm everyone is. Even in the most dire of situations, the really good first responders, are calmly walking, not rushing and, being incredibly careful, but there's not like the running in Hollywood action that I thought there would be. It's not that anyone's, not paying attention or not doing their jobs. It's just they want to do it without anyone else getting injured. And it's really it really does kind of make you understand that this is real life. Not that you're unaware when you're watching body cam footage, but how very different reality is to what we see in Hollywood or what we imagine.
It wasn't right now, I was walking in whenever I was coming in. She's 14. Hey, buddy, listen to me, okay? I need to get some information from you. What is her name again?
Carly, C-A-R-L-Y.
C-A-R-L-Y?
Carly Madison Gregg, G-R-E-G-G.
G-R-E-G-G?
She's my stepdaughter.
All right.
This is Dartmouth, and we're having all kind of problems with him. He's drugs. And,
what is your name, sir?
Smiley.
Smiley? Okay.
She's getting back to that.
What's your wife's name?
Have you called her? Have you called her?
Hey, how old is Ashley? How's your wife?
40.
Smiley, Ashley Smiley, 40 years of age, white female. Also, I got a 20.
No, and I think that's that's the problem for the defense. I think that you have to kind of make sense of it, and you have to frame it in a way that's not only reasonable, but that you can have sympathy for, because so many things are incongruous with this. She seems capable of feeling deep, deep emotion, but she acted really callously. Anyone who's lived with a teenage girl knows that that's not unusual, but it's very extreme. So you need to explain that in a way that's reasonable. And it would take a very skilled person, because to a lot of us, this is not going to make sense. Now, as a mom who is raising 2 girls who lost a father to substance abuse, I can tell you there is a unique worry, um, not so much, and never something I wanted to make, a phobia with my girls, but from an age I thought they were old enough to reasonably understand, I have been very frank and honest with them that both their father and I have struggled with anxiety and depression, and that because their father struggled with substances, that they could be, more susceptible to that. So what may be a casual, oh, every once in a while, my friends and I, go and smoke the devil's lettuce, you could be playing, with a serious addictive personality. Now, luckily, neither of my daughters have struggled with that yet, but I did want them to be aware, and I think there is a unique fear, not one that my children have often, vocalized, but I could imagine that there would be a unique fear if your parents struggled with substances or mental health, or the unfortunate combination of both, that it could be a real fear that you are turning into someone, that's going to struggle with the same demons. Uh, and I wish they had articulated that better, because I do think that that is an angle. If you are highly functional, if one of your main foundational points about yourself at 14 years old is that you're smart and you feel like you're losing your mind, I don't know that I would be mature enough to deal with that at 14. I don't think I would have gone to this extreme, but I don't think I would have been mature enough to deal with that. So I think there is a balance between punishment and rehabilitation that could be struck here.
For the other victims, 801-151-492, 801-151-492. Carly Madison Gregg. Carly Madison Gregg. Gregg. Yes, sir, the top degree. Do y'all have to roll with him right now? I can't get a picture. What I was going to say is that you need to get anything again to do it. Yeah. And we're going to have somebody from the hospital, I'm sure. So, yeah, so I'm just.
Okay, the over under that this man has gone to a McDonald's and asked for a liter of cola. Call me a daggone, tender-hearted, soft, what is it? Bleeding heart liberal, but when Ramathorn got his liter of Coke, I'd never felt happier for a guy. I mean, he's a simple guy. He just wants simple things, a liter of cola, and he so rarely wins that I was just happy for Ramathorn. It's like he finally got himself a liter of cola.
That's how we're going to do this. I can actually do it. Oh, that's my wife. You can actually call his wife, and I'm trying to. Okay, all right. Go ahead and do what you got to do. Hey, so he said that, no, I mean, I'm getting information good. It's a thorough 30 through the shoulder. That's right now. This is him. What she said. Ashley Smiley, she's 40 years old. And then the one we're looking for is Carly Gregg. She's 14. They've been having issues with her in the dad. So this is a step down. So deficit of
Well, and I'm not an expertologist in this, but are we smoking the same thing? I mean, are vape pens the same functionally? Look, I'm not a Cheech and Chongologist, but I have to imagine that the doobs that that my mom and dad used to roll, to the Doobie Brothers are not the same, as a vape pen full of, resin. I have to imagine that they are not the same thing. I don't know if I'm guessing the potency has gotten a lot stronger and, the delivery system maybe is different, but I don't think we're smoking what the boomers smoked, if that makes any sense. There's a science behind it, I know, more than Towley and, Randy Marsh on South Park. So I do know, but I think it has if I've talked to people who have indulged, say, in the Woodstock era and now, they have said that items have gotten much stronger. I've been in and out of here because I find this case quite triggering. No problem. And thank you for joining, Darth Vader. Like usual, I will be cutting this up into, sections. So I will try to put puppy kitten breaks. We will end with a Moxie break. But I will try to, put warnings as I do the individual videos of things that might be distressing.
We need. Told him, I said, we'll probably send somebody up there with him. Yeah. Well, you should go. Baptist? Where you go? Yeah, I'm saying. Get a pick me up. I'm sorry about that. No, you're fine. That's why I was trying to look like. So you're going to want to see. That's all the girls know. There's several dudes in the house. I need a crumb No, so we'll take care of that, okay? Even better than mechanical. We'll take care of that, okay? You try to take a picture of that so y'all have y'all's information? I'm just going to get all this information from him. I'll leave that. Okay, all right. We're going to start this one. Okay. What's his name? Burnell. Tyler Burnell. Okay. I thought I recognized him. He said Earl. Yeah, Earl in Flowood. They've been everywhere.
Ooh, we're getting the gossip. Ooh, why'd he and Pearl break up? Look, I want the details. I want to know why him and Pearl broke up. I mean, come on.
Definitely better? Works for me. It's going to be, we'll use it up pretty quick. I get it from Burnell. Yeah, I turn around.
Darth Vader, my brother is a fire captain, and the more footage I see of first responders the more my heart aches. It takes a very special person to deal with the negative every single day. Yeah, thank him for me, for all of us. I can't imagine. It's they carry of such a heavy load, and they don't often get the respect and, realization of that until you're personally, saved or helped by someone. And I wish we would take more time as, trial people and true crimers to highlight, the firefighters, the first responders, the people that are affected by these crimes because they might not be on the victim list or get victim impact statements, but I can't imagine what it's like to go into a home and have to deal with a husband who's, just been shot and a wife, mother who is dead. I can't imagine. And, you're the one that's expected to be professional to keep the crime scene, clear so that justice can eventually be done.
Turn around real quick. You trying to take a picture? You know. He said they've been having issues. I couldn't really get nothing out of it.
Well, tell him from me he's brave to be able to look at it. Look, as a person who is not brave enough to deal with my trauma, I am in fact quite comfortable with the fact that I am a coward and don't want to deal with it. It takes a really, really brave person to take a look at all the things that have hurt them and deal with them and process them in their own time or with someone else's help. So I know our words won't say anything, but I hope one day he understands how brave he was to deal with it.
I didn't really get much from him because he's so, all he told me is she took, yeah, all he kept telling me was she ran out the back door, to the depot. You got blue. Yeah, what's the easiest way? He probably kind of in the place trying to get coming back. And he said the wife's name was Ashley. Ashley? Yeah. And it's Ashley Smiley. Ashley Smiley. I'm just trying to shoot him back there. Yeah. Hey, Tyler, the gun that's used is right there on the counter in the kitchen. No. They're still alive? Yeah. That's all who, she's in here. I'm going to do that a little sideways for her. What? You guys got it? Yeah, got it. Sweet. Figure out what the fuck she's doing. This is us. Hey, there's a bunch of gun cases and stuff laying out there. The closet's filling full of guns. So we know she may still have access to them. She's in there, though. I mean, I couldn't get nothing the front door.
Well, guys, I think all the boys are starting to use the internet, and Hagatha the Leg is reminding me that I did say that we would stop this. Uh, so I am sending you over to Kat, not Williams. She started, let me double check before I tell you what she started. 15 years cold, the Rashawn Jones case. So 6 calls to disqualify. So looks pretty interesting, and she always finds, these cases that I don't know a whole lot about, but she's always a really good one to find kind of the cases that are in need of closer looks and, a light shined on them. So have a wonderful day. Hang out with her, send her some love. I am going to go see what Mr. Mo and I are planning for dinner, and then I will be getting streams set up for tomorrow. So have a wonderful rest of your Thursday night, and I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow. Bye, you guys.